Hello, welcome to Sandy Ainley. I've had a really tough time. It was my father's funeral yesterday, and it was very tearful for myself. Understandably, of course. I started off with having 2 hours sleep because I was awake thinking on subject of a funeral, feeling apprehensive, thinking on subject of people that I may not have seen for years that turned up to the funeral, hoping that all should be straightforward all day, and just feeling very wide awake mentally. So the good news is I did fall asleep for 2 hours, approximately. And I woke up at 8:30, and I was very lucky because I had been fast asleep. And my alarm only was for 4 a.m. and 4 a.m. So falling asleep at about 6:30 a.m., that was a risk I took, which I was lucky because I had an hour to get ready. So I took a quick shower, cold one, because there's no hot water in my building, in my flat, sorry. And in addition to that, I started to think a little bit on the subject of my cat Oreo, hoping I'd fed the cat whilst I was waiting for my brother to pick me up at 9:30 a.m. So I ran up the stairs again. Not again, I ran up the stairs and I gave Oreo a bit more food, being concerned that Oreo might throw up fur balls. And then I didn't know how long I was going to be out for. And so I really had to give Oreo extra food. So my brother turned up at 9:30ish in the morning, and we went over to my mother's flat, and we picked up my mother, and took ourselves in the car to the funeral. And it was in Edgware area, Jewish cemetery, I think, where that lady, the singer, Amy Winehouse, is buried there. I've seen Amy's tombstone. It's pink and black. And well, it certainly was when I saw it anyway. And the beginning of the funeral started off with my mother, brother and I walking into the prayer room. Then in the prayer room there were prayers in Hebrew and in the British language, I think, as well. And then I gave a speech, and I was crying so much I was finding it hard to get my words out. However, I did do the whole poem, the whole speech, and my brother gave one as well. In fact, in the reverse order, my brother was first and I was second. And my speech was a beautiful speech. In fact, I've got it here, and I'd love to read it to you. I have bought something online, and here it is. I shall read it to you. It says, "I close my eyes and I see your face, smiling at me. From a beautiful place you tell me you are never far away, and that we will meet again someday. I ask if you could stay a while. I miss your laugh, I miss your smile. Then you whisper sweetly into my ear, I'll never leave you, I'm always here." What a beautiful piece of the British language. You know, I noticed that when I was watching Big Brother years ago, there were certain characters in the show the reality show that swore on almost every other sentence. And I don't know if I'm exaggerating. And I personally don't mind a bit of swearing. Not for me to be swearing, unless I'm messing about, being funny and silly. However, to swear every other sentence or so, in my opinion, is a sign of a lack of education. I could be incorrect in some cases. I'm not saying in each case. I could be also incorrect completely. However, that's how I see it right now. And I don't know why I brought up the swearing part of the conversation, of the speaking I'm doing. But however, for some reason I brought up swearing. And I think what it is when I read a speech of such nature and such beautiful British language, I feel so happy to enjoy words, British words. British is such a beautiful language, and when swearing is constant and consistent, to me, it's abusing a beautiful language. And that's the manner in which I see it. Do forgive me if I'm incorrect. So, going back to the funeral, after the speeches and the praying, we all walked, maybe 60 of us, to the grave area, and then in the Jewish religion, I don't know if it's in every religion, certainly in the Jewish religion, one gets, I think it's called, named as a shovel, and we each one, if we so wish to do so, lifted up a bit of earth and threw it onto the grave area, down under the ground. And I did it twice, once for myself and once for my cousin Ollie, who lives in Israel, my favourite cousin ever. And I have a lot of cousins because my mother was one of about 12 or 13 children. So I know what a big family is all about, even though my immediate family is just my brother and me, children-wise. Having been brought up partially in Israel and partially in Great Britain, I had lots of cousins coming over from Israel constantly as a child. Now I know what it's like to be around family and babies, and I loved it, and I miss it. So, going back to the funeral again, I do sidetrack. It was lovely. It was really sad, but it was lovely. And the rabbi, I think, came and did some prayers for us. And on our way back, we had just been invited to my mother's flat to have refreshments. So quite a number of us turned up, although we weren't meant to have more than, I think it was 30 people. And I think my mother just about did it correctly. And ditto at the funeral. I think because we were outside, I think we were allowed to have a certain amount of people. I'm talking now on the subject of COVID, sorry to confuse you. And so however many, it seemed about 60 to me, but I didn't count, and sometimes I'm pretty unobservant, so it could have been far less. But whatever, I think one's allowed a certain amount for the funeral because it's outdoors, partially. So we went back to my mother's place, and I met a lovely lady again after about 4 years. A lovely lady, I shan't say the name because the lady might not so wish me to do so. And the lady said to me and to my mother, and I think to my mother and brother, said when Sandy, me, was much younger and friendly with my daughter, I don't know what Sandy sounds like now. However, certainly about 35, 40 years ago, Sandy could easily have had a main role in the West End musical, professional, with the voice that Sandy had in those days. I almost cried with joy. What a lovely thing to say. And then after that, I sat next to this lady, and we were eating sandwiches and whatever it was that was there. Nice lemon drink and all sorts of lovely refreshments. And then the lady went even further and said I was definitely good enough to have played in Annie the musical. And I just feel so good from what that lady said, and it just shows that when people are nice and encouraging, it is healthy, it's really healthy. And I did say to the lady that my voice is not what it was. What you've heard in my vlogs, if you've heard me, is about a 50th of what I was like 30 or 40 years ago. And it breaks my heart. It's a bit like an athlete who doesn't train for 40 years. Obviously, one's going to be completely out of it, you know. But I sang a bit to you because mainly for my father's sake. So the gathering went really well, and there were lovely people, all people that we've been involved with as an immediate family over the years. And in the Jewish religion, one says, I wish you a long life, if I've not said that already to you. And a lot of people came over to me, each person individually, to say, I wish you a long life and thank you for the party and goodbye, etc., etc. And then it was left with just my mother and some friends of my mother's, and some friends that I liked very much as well. And then we had a conversation, and my brother and I decided to go back to my flat. My brother drove me over to North Harrow. We popped into a cafe restaurant and my brother bought me dinner. Lovely dinner it was. It was I think grilled chicken and salad, and I loved it. And then my brother came back to my flat with me, and then the lady who cleans for me came over and did socialise a bit with me as well as clean. And I caught up with my sleep because I fell asleep almost immediately when I put my head on the pillow, and I placed my head on the pillow. And hence today, which is the day after, and I've had a nice lunch, and I had salad again. I'm really trying hard at the moment. I so wish to lose weight, and I hope on this occasion I shall be consistent, my favourite word. So thank you for listening, and please take care, and please look after yourselves, and please look after each other and support each other. Lots of love. Bye-bye.